Imagine crawling deep inside the earth, through tiny tunnels, your body pressed between cold rock walls. There is no light, no room to stand, and no way to turn around. The air feels heavy, and water drips all around you. Now imagine doing all this, while a storm rages above, and the cave begins to flood. This is not a horror movie. This really happened. In 1967, 6 brave young men entered a beautiful but dangerous cave in Yorkshire, England. They were full of hope and excitement, but they never came back. What started as an adventure turned into Britain's worst caving disaster. The cave kept them hidden for days. What rescuers found deep underground still haunts people to this day. Why did they go in? What went wrong? And what makes this cave so deadly? In the Yorkshire Dales, there's a peaceful area called Grassington Moor. It's full of green hills, quiet streams, and wide open skies. But there's one stream called Mossdale Beck that hides a deep secret. This stream flows across the land until it reaches a huge wall of limestone rock known as Mossdale Scar. Below the surface, that water has spent thousands of years carving out a twisting maze of tunnels and chambers. These are called the Mossdale Caverns. The cave entrance looks calm and pretty, but underground, it's a completely different world. A world that few people have ever dared to enter. June 24, 1967. It was a summer morning when 10 young cavers met at the Mossdale cave entrance. They were excited. They had explored caves before. Their leaders, Dave Adamson and Jeff Boyrow, were skilled and experienced. This time, they wanted to go further than anyone had gone before. The plan was to split into 2 groups. 4 men would explore the easy parts near the entrance. 6 men, Dave Adamson, Jeff Boyrow, John Ogden, Colin Vickers, Bill Frakes, and Michael Ryan, would go deep into the cave with special equipment. They waved goodbye to each other, not knowing it would be the last time they saw each other alive. At first, the cave wasn't too difficult. Big open spaces like Boulder Hall allowed the cavers to walk normally. Even parts filled with water, like a tunnel called Drown or Glory, weren't too bad for experienced explorers. But soon, everything changed. The deeper they went, the tighter and more dangerous the tunnels became. First came the rough crawl, a place where they had to crawl on hands and knees. Then, the knee wrecker, even narrower and harder to move through. But these were nothing compared to what came next. They reached a tunnel called the Marathon Crawl, and it truly lived up to its name. It was nearly half a kilometer long, so tight and narrow that the only way to get through was on your stomach, pushing forward inch by inch. This tunnel had 2 parts. The near marathon, a short break area called the 5-foot chamber, and then the far marathon. Imagine being stuck there, deep under the earth, dragging heavy blasting tools, with rocks pressing all around you and no room to even sit up. Only a few people in the world have ever completed this journey. One of them, Simon Beck, described it like this: "There's no way out. You can't stop. You can't turn around. You just keep going. Every inch is a battle. It messes with your mind." One caver even said he felt sick just thinking about it later. But the 6 men kept going. They were brave. They believed they could do it. They didn't know that a silent danger was coming. Back on the surface, by 5 p.m., the 4 cavers who stayed near the entrance had finished and gone back to their hut. The sky had started to darken, and light rain began to fall. It didn't seem like a big deal. But Mossdale Caverns had a secret weakness. It could flood very quickly. By 7:30 p.m., the rain became heavy. Morag Forbes, she walked back to the cave entrance to check. Even though the rain was strong, the entrance still looked okay. She returned to the hut, hoping everything would be fine, but it wasn't. At 9 p.m., the rain was pouring. Morag went back again. What she saw was terrifying. The small stream had become a massive lake. The entire cave entrance was now underwater. She ran 2 miles through the dark to the nearest farmhouse and called for help. By 11 p.m., rescuers had arrived. They knew the cave was flooding fast. They brought sandbags and machines to try to move the water away from the entrance. Finally, by morning, they made a path to go back inside the cave. The rescue team entered, hoping the missing men had climbed to higher tunnels to stay safe. They searched the upper levels. No sign of the 6 men. Then they crawled through the tight, painful paths, the rough crawl, the knee wrecker, and into the marathon crawl. And deep inside the far marathon, they found them. First, they saw Michael Ryan and Jeff Boyrow. Their bodies were pressed inside a crack in the wall. It looked like they had tried to find air as the water rose. The rescuers, heartbroken, kept going. Next, they found Bill Frakes, Colin Vickers, and Dave Adamson. 5 men were now found, but one was still missing: John Ogden. Then, something else went wrong. The dam holding back the flood was starting to break. The rescuers had to stop. They hoped maybe John was still alive, hiding somewhere. The next day, they returned and searched again. Finally, in a tiny side tunnel near the others, they saw something. It was John Ogden. His body was wedged into a tiny space, almost invisible, covered in dirt and mud. Only his boots and the white of his helmet showed. We may never know exactly how they died. Did the water come rushing in suddenly, or did it rise slowly, giving them time to panic and try to escape? Maybe they tried to reach a safer place like the high-level mud caverns, but couldn't move fast enough in the tight tunnels. Maps and studies help us guess, but we must remember, these were real people, not just names on paper. They were scared. They fought to live. Their final moments were likely filled with fear, confusion, and pain. At first, the cave was sealed, and the bodies were left inside. A group of rescuers returned. They worked hard and moved the bodies to a dry tunnel called the sanctuary. This story was tragic, but Floyd Collins, trapped 17 days in a cave, his ending was even darker. Watch now before you forget.